So we had a long break from last Tuesday to this Tuesday. I was thinking whether you have forgotten about the project finance certificate course and about me. And today only about now 12 have joined, but we'll start others. I think the traffic problem must be there now for most of you, because from yesterday traffic has increased and going home might be getting late. So the next few days for our program, today is we are doing NPV and other investment criteria. Then I think if there is balance, we will do on 1st of April NPV, and we'll continue. And then also we will do ratio analysis if we finish early, ratio analysis. And on 6th of April is your deadline for assignment 1. And on 8th of April, I am getting another guest speaker. She is Chief Manager Risk at HNB, and I recruited her when I was at HNB to Project Finance Division. She was heading Project Finance Division until about 3 years back, and then she moved to Risk Department, and she will speak on risk in project finance. Right? So you can ask questions. I think we have risk people from other banks also, Bank of Ceylon. So you can ask questions and we can share our knowledge. So on the assignment, I just brief you like what it should contain. We have discussed in the feasibility study as well, the promoter, the concept, right? From the concept on it, like the project background and history, and the market. From market, we get into sales volume, from the market share, then based on sales, and we get into financial projections. If it is a manufacturing thing, plant capacity, materials and inputs, the location and site, infrastructure, and the project engineering, like civil works, plant organization, manpower, etc. So, and then the implementation schedule, how the project will be implemented. And then the financial and economic evaluation, which we are studying these days. So those are the things we are expecting from you. And I know it is a little difficult, but when you try, you will learn. And if you have tried hard and I can find that you have done your best, then you will get good marks. Right. I am going to share something with you. Now, this is a implementation schedule, right? Can you see, all of you? And it is for a project. First, starting with piling work. There are, I think, even I can't see easily, 4 towers, and each tower piling work, right? Then you have tower 2, the pile cap, ground floor concreting, ground floor columns, like for 8 floors, the work schedule, right? This is the implementation schedule. Then finally walls and other items. Like tower 1 also same, tower 1 and tower 4, tower 1 and 3. Then we have the common items. Then you can see at the bottom, cash flow. Remember last time, or before that, we did that hydropower project where we had the cash flow for 10 years, where the construction period was 7 years. So like this, based on the implementation plan, you get the cash flow. So each month, the cash flow. So this is how the total project cost is estimated is 643 million, right? and the project, the construction cost 538 million. Other costs are 105 million. Just to, because I show this somewhere and I took a copy to show you how it is happening. Right. Now we go to today's lecture. Let me switch off the fan. Last time we started on this, right? And you can see me, no? So last time we started on this net present value and other investment criteria. And what we discussed was we are looking for from project sponsors side. We are not looking at this net present value in investment criteria from a project sponsor side. We are not looking from the bank side. Okay. Because first the project should be viable, right? And it should be creating value for the promoters. After that only, even the promoter will come to the bank if the project is viable only. If not, that's why we are also checking when they come to the bank whether the project is viable. After that only we should look at the financing side. And the investment we are going to make should be better than the next best opportunity. So if there is a better opportunity with same risk, then you should not invest in that project. You should go for the other opportunity, right? So that's what we said, opportunity cost. Right? And we discussed there are several criteria, and these are some of those criteria here on the screen. Right? And then we looked at a simple case. Someone buys a land for a house, rundown house for 10 million, do a renovation for 10 million, and sell it for 25 million. So there is value addition of 5 million. But the problem is when we buy the house, we don't know whether we can, after the renovation, we can sell it for 25 million. So all the projects have this risk, because in future, what will be the value we are estimating. So we have a problem that our estimate can go wrong. And after we do that investment, we have to think, we have hope that what we estimated will come true, but always it will not. If we think of 25 million, it will not be 25 million, somewhere in that area, if our estimates are good. Then we didn't start on payback rule. What is payback rule? I think we did that for some other example as well. Payback rule is, payback period is the time required for an investment to generate cash flows to recover its initial cost. Right? So we have a project. So we say we invest 100 million, right? So what is the payback period? This is 100 is minus. Then we have here 0, 1, 2, 50 million, 3, 20 million. So in this case, the payback period is 3 years. Right? So the payback rule is a company can decide we are going to invest only on projects which are less than 3-year payback period. Right? They just fix a amount. Right? So this example, we will try to calculate the payback period. Okay. So I wanted all of you to do on your own, and you can tell me, right? We have 1 year, 2nd year, 3rd year. Okay. Right? It's given cash flow, 1st year 100, 2nd year 200, 3rd year 500. The investment is 500,000. So investment is 500. So these are thousands, but we are taking only without the. Right? So these are. So can someone tell me what is the payback period? This is cash flow. We can say to get cumulative cash flow. Cumulative cash flow is 100, 300, and 800. So after 1 year 100, after 2nd year we have 300,000, and after 3rd year 800,000. Our investment is 500,000. So whereabout is the payback period?
Between 2 and 3.
Yeah, between 2 and 3. And if we think this cash flow is linear, right? So we can calculate like up to some months, like accuracy for months. So what we do is we between 2 and 3, that is 2 plus. 2 plus. Now the gap between 3 and 2 is 800 minus 300. Okay. 800 minus 300. Okay. Right. Now it should be in the bottom. This is, now we want to see how when this 500 is achieved, right? But the investment is achieved 500. Okay, so we divide 500 minus 300, right? And we on the top divide by 800 minus 300. So what we get is 5 minus 3, 2, 2 divided by 5, that is 2, 2, 5. Okay. Am I correct? Yeah, I'm correct. So 2 to 5 is about 2.66 years. No, not 2.66, 2.4 years. Yes. Have I done this correctly?
2 years and 4 months.
No, not 2 years and 4 months. If it is 2.4, then you have to multiply 0.4 by 12, because for year there's a 12. So 2 years and about 5 months. 2 years, 5 months. So when you multiply by 12, you get 4.8. Okay? So it's 2 years and 5 months. Do you agree with me? So 0.4 years is it's about 5 months. Okay. Like 0.5 years is 6 months. Right. Any questions? Any clarification? Okay. This is a very simple thing. Hope you understand. Maybe I can show you in an even graph. Right. We have years here 1, 2, 3, and the cash flow. Okay. So when we do that, we'll take that $500. So year 0, it's 500. Okay. So year 1, we recover something. It is 400. Right? Year 1. 2, 3. Then Year 2, 200, minus 200, minus 200. In year 3, it's plus 300. Understand why I get this 300? Because I'm taking cumulative with this. That is 500, 400, minus 200, and plus 300. So when you draw this line, you will go like it will come between 2 and 3. My graph is not very accurate. So, but that's how we get this the equation of 2 plus, that take the gradient, and because its difference is 1, you multiply by 1. Okay. So this payback period. Suppose an investment has a cash flow profile shown in table 1. Determine the payback period. Right. Now, I want you to work on it. I'll give you a few minutes. About, have you done? Any of you have done this last week? So take your books out and work on it. Because if it is in the classroom here, physical class, I will be asking you to work on it, and I will come and check how you are doing. That's how I did some teaching. But now, because of this, we can start physical classes also in future. We'll see after the new year.
Two years and 8 months.
2 years and yeah, good. Somewhere in that region, 2.66. We have kept a calculator here, so I can use it. I think. Yeah, 2 years and 8 months. Very good. I will show you how to do it. Hope you can see what I write on the board. Right. So we have this table 1, we have here cash flow. Okay. And here and cash flow. Here we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have the investment minus 15,000. Then the cash flow from operations 7,000, 6,000 in year 2, in year 3, 3,000, year 4, 2,000, 1,000. So that is a table 1. So you can see you have another table, table 2. Right? Table 2 is cumulative cash flow. Cumulative cash flow. Okay. For the investment. So cumulative cash flow. So now you tell me what is the cumulative cash flow? then better, because when I listen to your voices, I know you are there. Okay, tell me what is the year zero cumulative cash flow?
minus 15,000.
Yeah, very good. Minus 15,000. Year one,
7,000.
cumulative cash flow.
Minus 8,000.
Minus 8,000. Correct. Minus 8,000. Year two,
Minus 2,000.
very good. Year three,
Plus 1,000.
Plus 1,000.
Plus 1,000.
Excellent. Plus 1,000. Okay. Four,
3,000.
Plus 3,000.
and five,
Plus 4,000.
4,000.
very good. Right. So now from this, we can see from minus to plus is between year 2 and 3, right? So it is more than 2, less than 3. Right? So we will have to calculate the if you want to calculate accurately, we'll do that. I think someone shared with me. Sorry, I can't see who is speaking, therefore I don't want to make a mistake by giving the name. Okay. And so how do you do that? Payback. Oh, these pens are not good. Payback minus 2. Right? That is, can you remember we know that graph, right? So payback is somewhere here, right? This is year 3, this is year 2. Okay. So we take the payback minus 2, right? Payback minus 2 divided by 3 minus, oh, okay, we can take the gradient divided by what is 0 plus 2,000. So here 0, here minus 2,000, right? So the gradient is payback minus 2 divided by 0 minus 2,000 comes to 0 plus 2,000. Is it clear? That is the gradient, right? So we equate it to 3 minus 2, right? 3 minus 2, then 1,000 plus 2,000. And 1,000 minus 2,000 become 1,000 plus 2,000. Okay. So we compare the gradient. Equate, right? So we get here 1 divided by 3,000. So payback is, we take 2 onto this side, 2 plus this 2,000 goes across 2,000 divided by 3,000. So we get 2.66. 66. We multiply by 12. We got 2.7, 2.66 years. How many months?
8
0.66
months.
month?
8 months.
8 months. Okay. 2.66 years or 2 years, 8 months. So this is simple maths, and maybe simple maths problems can come for the exam also. So you should be familiar with this. And this is the basic way of basic criteria. Payback is a basic criteria where you check in. We will look at it advantages and disadvantages. So I have kept. So payback period is calculated by the time it to take until the sum of the return from the investment is equal to the cost of the investment. So for the cost of the investment, the return should equal. That's why we went for that 0. So that's why we did the cumulative cash flow. When the cumulative cash flow is equal to 0, we achieve the payback period. So in this case, investor has to wait for 2 years and 8 months to recover his investment. We have another example. Alternative projects. Right? Another problem, alternative projects. The cash flow profiles from 2 alternative projects are given in the table 3 below. Since the projects are mutually exclusive, one of them must be chosen. What is mutually exclusive? If we do one project, we can't do the other. Right? So those are mutually exclusive, and we discuss, like in a land, in a corner land, we can do a petrol shed or an apartment project or a office complex. So if we do one, we can't do the other. Right? So here there are 2 projects which are maybe doing the same premises, same land. So project A or project B, we have to select. So the question is, which is the better choice? So the cash flow profile is given. Then we go to try to solve it. So all of you try this. Okay. Try to solve this. I'll give you about 3 minutes. Oh, you want 5 minutes?
Project 1 is better choice.
One,
Project A is better.
project A is better.
Project
Why do you say that?
payback period is 2 years and 7 months.
Right, okay. Payback period is
And
how much?
project B, it takes 2 years and 7 months.
Right, okay. So the project B has a longer payback period. 3 years, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, can see from
Yes.
the figures, yeah. Right, very good. Okay, we'll look at how to do it. So what we have to do is, like we did earlier, we have to construct a table containing the cumulative cash flow for each project, and we determine at which point the initial investment is equal to the cumulative cash flow. Right? So when you take cumulative cash flow from negative to positive, at what time, at what point it will change, right? So we'll have a so we have here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And project A and project B. So I'm not writing the cash flows given here. So I will take the cumulative cash flows. Only the cumulative cash flows. Cumulative cash flows minus 100. Can someone tell me? Cumulative cash flow. Year 1. For the project A, year 1. Cumulative
Minus,
Okay.
minus 70.
minus 70. Okay.
Minus 30
Year 2.
plus 20.
No. Year 2
80.
minus 30. No, right. Okay. You have gone up to year 3. Plus 20. Year 4.
80.
80.
So project B, same investment minus 100. Year one,
Minus 60.
minus 60,
minus 60.
minus 20,
Okay.
0 and 20.
20.
From this cash flow also you can see project A is good because after the even break even, there is some good cash flows. In project B, only 20. Right? So we can draw a graph and find the thing also, but not on this whiteboard. You can maybe so for this B is very easy. Payback period is 4 years. Okay. Payback period 4 years. No. Is it 4 years? Project B payback period, I have said
3 years.
3
no,
years.
no, 3 years. When I make a mistake, you have to correct me. I don't get upset or offended. So I can make a mistake to see how whether you have found out the mistake. So Mr. Menaka brought me new pens. Right. So Mr. Menaka also working from his office. Right. So when you take project A, I think difficult to draw on this. We have 0, minus 20, minus 40, minus 60, minus 80, and minus 100. And the years we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we will do 4. Project A is minus 100. Year start is minus 100. Year after year 1 minus 70. Okay. Year 2 minus 30. Year 3 plus 20. Year 3 plus 20. And year 4 plus 80. So we start from minus 100, go there, and okay. Now the pen is very good. This pen is good. Okay. So this is the break even. Break even. Payback period is a break even measure. This is the payback period. So this is project A. Similarly, we can do project B. It goes like somewhere like this and then goes like this. So I'm not fixing the. So it is easy when you put it in a graph, you can clearly see. Now can you see the presentation? No. Thank you. So are everyone now specialist in calculating payback period? So we can see the project A. What is the project A payback period? I have not done the calculation. Can someone tell me what is the project A payback period? Project A, payback 2 years and 7 months, right? Okay. Project B, A, payback period is 2 years and 7 months. Right? Right. What are the advantages of payback period? Payback period is very simple, right? Because we have the investment, we have the cash flows from operations, then we can calculate the payback period easily. And investments that pay back rapidly has benefits beyond the existing cutoff, right? Now, if it is the cutoff was 3 years here, right? And both projects can be accepted, but because of mutually exclusive, only one can be done. If they also are not mutually exclusive, both can be accepted, right? Because in this both are less than 3 years. Now, then we have to see after the cutoff whether there are higher cash flows. Or if you take project A, we have higher cash flows after the cutoff. Right? So that is better than the project B on that also. So investment that pay back rapidly has benefits beyond the existing cutoff probably has a positive NPV. There can be some projects, they will have a very short payback period, but after the payback there are no cash flows. Right? So then it is not worth investing in that. And because it is biased towards short-term projects, it is biased towards liquidity. Right? So liquidity comes in with that. So adjust for extra riskiness in later cash flows. Now we are discussing that all these cash flows are estimated. Right? We are projecting those cash flows and we don't know whether they will be achieved. So because payback period is biased towards short-term projects and it doesn't have extra riskiness of later cash flows. That hydropower project we had for 30 years and we took 10 years cash flows. But those projects, hydropower, if they complete the project and there is water in the river, then you can generate cash flows. Right? But still there can be risk of non-generation. Now in Sri Lanka, we have financed hydropower projects, and with this, the way they cut the forest and damage the environment, there may not be water in some of those streams in future. Right? So there can be a risk. So that risk is covered in the payback period. The disadvantages, the main disadvantage is time value of money is ignored, right? Because we look at 100 here and another 100 after 3 years, right? After 3 years. So those are not same. We have learned that the 100 today is different from 100 in future. So the time value of money is not ignored. And the risk differences are not considered. We are only looking at the payback period, but we don't look at the risk of whether A is risky or B is risky. So that risk differences are not taken into account. And the cutoff period is arbitrarily chosen. Someone in the company will say, we will do only projects less than payback period 3 years, but that is not scientific basis. And it ignores cash flows after the cutoff period. Because cutoff period after cutoff period, one if longer payback project can have more cash flows, but in this payback period method, we are ignoring that. Any questions? Then we have average rate of return or average accounting return. Right? And you can see from the name, it is something related to accounting. Right? So average rate of return is average net income divided by average book value. I think we did an example few classes back. average net income divided by average book value. So based on the average rate of return rule, a project is accepted if its average rate of return exceeds the target average rate of return. We can say all our projects should be about 20% average rate of return, right? So then if it is less than 20%, we will not invest, right? So again, advantages are like payback period, easy to calculate because this accounting information is available and needed information will usually be available. Right? The disadvantages are this is not a true rate of return. Here again, time value of money is not considered, and it uses arbitrary benchmark cutoff rate and not based on cash flows. This is based on income, net income, but we know net income has depreciation as well. So it is not based on cash flows. So we'll have an example. We have an example on average rate of return. So return on investment. Consider an investment with accounting projections given in table 5. The profit is obtained from the income statement and the assets from the balance sheet. The assets have been depreciated on a straight line basis over the life of the project. Hence the diminishing value. Calculate the return on investment. Right? Okay. So we have assets and the profit. Right? So well, calculate and tell me what is the average rate of return or the average accounting return. You know the formula. Average rate of return is equal to average net income divided by the average book value. So I'll give you about 2-3 minutes to work on it. Okay. There are different ways of calculating this average rate of return or return on investment. We can say one way is when I write on the board with this presentation mode. Can you see?
Yes, can.
Can, no? Okay. Right. So then one way is we can say return on investment. Right? Return on investment. You can write this formula. Return on investment. Return on investment is equal to we can say annual profit divided by the investment. A lot of people look at this annual profit divided by investment. So what is the annual profit? Is we can say 30,000 because for 3 years it is 30,000. I think someone has unmuted and 30,000 divided by what is the investment? 200,000. So this is return on investment, profit divided by 15%. So this is not the formula, average rate of return, right? So we look at the another formula. Average profit divided by the average value of this. That is the one we shared, right? Average net income divided by average book value. Okay. So average rate of return is average profit divided by average book value. So what is the average profit here? How do you get the average? You
Get the total divided by time.
Yeah. So divided by how much? How many years?
4 years.
4 years. Yes. Okay. So it is 110,000 divided by 4. Okay. So average of it 110,000 divided by 4. Then the average book value is again you add those book values divided by how many? Or how many years?
4 years.
5 years, right? So that is 350 or 450, 500,000 divided by 5 years. So someone calculate and tell me the answer. That is
0.275.
27.5.
0.275.
0.275. Okay. Yeah. That is actually 27.5, no? 27.5%. 0.275. Correct. Because if you divide by 100, this is 0.275. So it's 27.5%.
Yes.
Right. There's another definition. That definition is return on investment is equal to total income, right? You have now why are we investing? To get income. So we are looking at the total income minus investment divided by investment. Total income minus the original investment. No, I think it should be average book value. Total income divided by minus investment divided by average book value, like we used there. Right? Average book value. This is the original investment. So what is the total income? We add those, we got 110,000. 110,000 is the total income. What is the original investment? Minus 200,000. So we have invested 200,000, but we get total income is 110,000. And divided by average is 100,000. Average book value is 100,000. So what is that? It's minus 90%. Right? So it is minus 90%. So all these are accounting things. So we can't say whether it is good or bad because we are not taking the cash flows into account. Right? So this is still any questions on this? Right. Next is discounted payback period. Discounted payback rule. Why is discounted payback rule? Because the normal payback rule has the problem of time value of money, right? So the discounted payback period is the length of time required for an investment discounted cash flows to equal its initial cost. All of you understand because I don't have an example here. If you want, we can do an example taking one of the payback rule examples and discount it and then see what is the period taking to recover the original investment. So based on the discounted payback rule, an investment is acceptable if its discounted payback period is less than some pre-specified number of years, similar to payback rule. So what are the advantages? Now discounted payback considers time value of money and it is easy to understand, and again, like payback rule, bias towards liquidity. The disadvantages is may reject positive NPV investments because we are not taking the cash flows after the payback period. Okay. Require an arbitrary cutoff point and ignore cash flows beyond the cutoff date, and it's again not favorable for long-term projects. So if a company is not favorable in doing long-term projects, they can use payback period or discounted payback period for their evaluation of projects. Any questions? Okay. So we have, after we started, some others also have joined. We have over 20 participants. Any questions? Okay, then we'll break for tea. Tea for me, you can have your dinner if you want to in 50 minutes and join by 8:15. So we go to the net present value. I think we have discussed the financial management or investment is to create value for shareholders or owners. So the widely used procedure is examining a potential investment in light of its effect on value of the firm is the net present value approach. So net present value is most widely used approach. There are payback period, discounted payback period, average accounting return, all these things, but net present value is the widely used one. Right? So if the investment is worth undertaking, as we have discussed, if it creates value for its owners. The real challenge is to identify ahead of time whether the proposed investment or project will be worth more than it cost once in its place. We discussed with that the housing, buying a house, renovating also, we discussed that we don't know what will be the future value. So that is the challenge. So the difference between investment's market value and its cost is called the net present value. Okay? So the difference between market value and this cost. Net present value is equal to market value minus its cost. And so what is the market value? How do we get the market value? Market value is, we learned present value. Right? I think a couple of weeks back we learned present value. Market value is, we take the future cash flows. Right? We take X1, X2, X3 and discount it to present value. This is the present value. Right? Discount it to the present value, we get the market value. Then the cost is where what we invest in the year 0. So we have a problem. We'll look at that, how to tackle this problem. We believe we have already learned the discounted cash flow. Right? So I hope everyone is familiar with discounted cash flow valuation, and we'll go to how to do it. So we believe that the cash revenues from our quarry business will be 200 million per year. So each of you read for yourself. So if everything goes well, we assume that we have a revenue of 200 million per year. Right? And the cash cost, so revenue is 200 million, cash cost is 140 million per year. And the quarry will be utilized in 8 years. So we have, in 8 years, we are using the quarry. The plant, property and equipment will be worth 5 million at that time, after 8 years. And the project cost is 300 million to launch it. And we use 15% discount rate on new projects such as this one. Is this good investment? So what is the NPV rule? A project is accepted if the NPV is positive, and the project is rejected if the NPV is negative. So, ladies and gentlemen, work on this. Are all of you there? Okay.
Yes.
Right, thank you. Please work on this. So when you work by yourself, you will learn, and I will explain after you work on it. I will write the basic things. Here we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When you write it down, it's easy, right? Then the investment in the year 0 is minus 300. Then the cash inflow. It is the revenue. Right? Okay, we are getting cash revenue is 200. Cash outflow is minus 140. Minus 140. It's very warm in this lecture room because the ACs are not there after 5 or 6, I think. And if you use fans, difficult to. So I just switch on the fan. These are the information given. Okay. Are there any other cash flows? Are there any other cash flows?
Equipment cost?
Yeah, that equipment
Cash
cost
outflow.
is 300 million. Yeah. Investment in equipment is 300 million is the cash out. The project cost is 300 million to launch it. That is all the equipment, all the other expenses.
There it says the plant and equipment will be 5 million.
Yeah, 5 million. No, yeah. So where should it come? At 5 million.
It should in the year 0.
No, 5 million is after 8 years, the property equipment is 5 million. Right?
Oh, that is.
So it's coming.
Scrap value.
Salvage value is here, plus 5 after 8 years. Okay. Now, I think I would have explained you most of the projects. At the end, we have more assets, right? I think better mute. So after 8 years, normally any project, we have the maybe factory building, the land, everything is there, right? But in quarry business, after you take all the rock out, that value is not there. So I think I explained to you, we have to be very careful when you take as security. So in this case also the final value of that is only 5 million. Right? And if you give a loan, you should try to recover in 3-4 years before the value of the quarry is minimum. Right, okay. Now these are the cash flows. Then we will look at net cash flow or free cash flow or net cash flow. Okay. We can call it free cash flow as well. That is minus 300 in year 0, right? 60 plus 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, and 65. Okay. These are the free cash flows. Now, how do we get the net present value? There are two ways. Normal, what we have learned getting present value is we multiply the cash flow by how much? How do you take the net present value? C into or C divided by 1 plus R. Okay. C divided by 1 plus R is P ratio. So 1 plus R to the power n, right? So in year 1, it is 60 divided by 1 plus 0.15 to the power 1. Okay. Then 60 divided by 1 plus 0.15 to the power 2. Okay. Like this, we go on until 8th year. And we take the net present value and we have the investment, we get the net present value. That is one way, right, using the present value factor. This is the present value factor. And you can see this is all these cash flows are same other than the 8th year or the 60, right? So there is a equation called annuity factor. Right? If there are same cash flows, then we have an equation called C, that is the cash flow, into 1 minus again 1 minus 1 divided by 1 plus R to the power T. This is 1 plus R to the power T is the present value factor. Okay. Then divided by again R. This is the annuity factor. Annuity. So using that annuity factor, we can calculate the present value. Okay. So present value is C so we will first calculate this present value factor. This is the present value factor. 1 divided by 1 plus R to the power T. Okay. Here, so 1 divided by present value factor here is 1 divided by 1 plus R to the power T. Here 1 divided by 1 plus 0.15. Here the T is 8 years, so 8 to the power 8. We get 0.3269. There are tables as well, you can calculate 0.3269. So we use that 0.3269 here. So the present value is, we have 60 into 1 minus that 0.3269. 1 minus 0.3269. Can you see this board? Divided by R, 0.15. Okay. Now, when we take like this, we have not taken this 5 into account, right? So we have to add 5 into 1 divided by 1.15 to the power 8. Okay. So the present value is net present value is, I'll write it here, net present value is minus 300 minus 300. So when you calculate the present value, it comes to 271. Okay. This equation is coming to 271. So net present value is minus 300 plus 271. That is minus 29. Net present value is minus 29. Any questions on the calculation? And only thing is the annuity factor. You can remember, maybe I may not test it with you because you can't remember this all these formulas. Is the cash flow into 1 minus 1 plus R divided by T to the power T divided by R is the annuity factor. Okay. So annuity factor is present value factor divided by R, 1 minus present value factor divided by R into C. So this is the answer. But what do you think of this investment? Present value is minus 29. So,
Not a good one.
okay, yeah.
Negative.
Okay, thank you. Because considering the, we know the present value rule is NPV is positive, it is accepted, and if NPV is negative, it is rejected. Okay, right. So NPV is negative, and we should not invest in this project. Right. We'll go to another one. Suppose we are asked to decide whether or not a new consumer product should be launched. So you read it by yourself. In your assignment, you should calculate the present value of your project. Not present value, net present value. Maybe you can do payback period also. So it says cash flows over 5-year life is $2,000 in the first 2 years, 4,000 in the next 2 years, and 5,000 in the last year. So it's a 5-year life project with the cash flows are given, and the investment is 10,000. Use 10% discount rate to evaluate new products. So what should we do here? So what we should do is calculate net present value. So all of you, with your knowledge and using your calculators, calculate here, you can't use the annuity factor because the cash flows are different. Annuity factor can be used if the cash flows are same. Are you all doing the calculations? Trying to solve this problem? Okay. Yeah. So this is 5 years, right? So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Product should be launched. Positive.
Very good. What is the net present value?
NPV 2307.
Right. Okay. Very good. Okay. So you tell me how to, when I write, what to write. Okay. What we have given is for 10% discount rate, right? 10% discount rate, that is 1.1. You know, 1 plus 10% is 1.1. Okay. So these are the information we have. This is used. In year 0, we are spending 10,000. No? Yeah, year 0 minus 10,000. Okay. Then first 2 years, how much? First 2 years, 2,000. No? 2,000. Next 2 years,
4,000.
4,000. Final year,
5,000.
5,000. Thank you. All right. Now this is the cash flow. So this is the cash. Then we have to calculate the discounted cash flow, right? So you say NPV is equal to minus 10,000. Here discount by 1. Year 0 is, if you put the formula also, you get 1. Okay. Then 2,000 divided by
1.1. 1.1.
Right, thank you. This 2,000 divided by 1.2, no?
1.1 to the power 2.
Okay, thank you. 1.1 to the power 2. Right. 4,000
Divided by 1.1 to the
1 to
power.
the power 3.
1.1 to the power 3, no?
Yes.
4,000.
1.
Fourth year.
1.1 into the power 4.
1.1 to the power 4. Fifth year, 5,000 divided by.
1.1 to the power 5.
Okay, very good. So we have, now this is the discounting all these cash flows, right? So we get minus 10,000 plus
1,818.
1,808 and then 19. I have got 1,880. plus
1,652.
1,653 plus
3,005.
3,005.
3,005.
Yeah, 3,000. My 3, that is my 3. Okay. Okay. Thank you. 3,005. Then
2,732.
yeah. Plus
3,000.
3,104.
so the answer is 2,330.
2,307.
12. Yeah, can be because when you're rounding off, it can be either side 2,312, no? Right. So this is positive. NPV is positive, and you said because NPV positive, we should invest. We should launch this product. Okay. So now you know how to calculate. Some of you would have known how to do it, but I have to take whole class as a whole, and I think others, if you have not done before, I hope you learned how to do this net present value calculation. And as you, most of you are familiar with net present value, right? Next one, now net present value, we are now specialists in calculating net present value, right? We look at the another criteria, internal rate of return. Internal rate of return is called IRR. Like net present value, IRR also very widely used. Right? So when IRR is, how you calculate IRR is, when net present value is 0, that the rate at which is the IRR. Okay, so I'll show you something. We can take the same example. We say net present value is 0. 0. And the rate one plus R 1 plus R to the power 2, 1 plus R to the power 3, 1 plus R to the power 4, 1 plus R to the power 5. So this is net present IRR calculation is, this net present value is all the cash flows discounted to 0 with the investment as well, right? And so what we have to find out is solve this equation and find R. Can you solve this equation? Very, very difficult, right? What we used to do to calculate IRR is we take one rate, we say put point. Now we have done with 10%. No? We have done when R is 10%, we know NPV is equal to 2,330. No? What is the NPV earlier?
2,312.
2,312, right? We know this. Right? So, anyone tell me IRR is less than 10% or more than 10%?
Less than 10%.
Pardon?
Less than 10%.
No, not less than. Because you see, it should be more than 10%. Because when you discount, when the discount rate is high only, this will become 0. Because now at this 10% discount rate, it is positive. Right? Normally, what happens is we have this. Right? We have the rate, NPV. When the discount rate is lower, NPV is positive. Okay. Discount rate is 0, NPV is minus 10,000. And not minus 10,000, we have to not this 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 10, 8, 12, 17, not 7,000. Okay. But when it is now it's at 10%, this we get 2,312. And then when the discount rate is high, when we discount, the value of the cash flows become smaller because the discount rate you divide by 1 plus R to the power 2. Right? So this is the IRR point. So it should be IRR is more than 10%. So what we used to do was we take for maybe 20% and calculate NPV. Okay. I think you can do that. Shall we calculate NPV at 20%? Now we use 10% and calculated. Now calculate using 20% and give me the answer. I hope everyone is doing the calculation.
Minus 692.
How much?
Minus 692. 692.
Minus 609. Right? Now, how do we calculate on this? Now we know it is minus 69. We used also earlier when calculating the payback period, the gradient thing, right? Okay, here also we say this is the IRR. IRR minus 10, right? IRR minus 10 divided by 2,312. Can be 0 minus 2,312. 0 minus 2,312. This is the gradient we are taking. Then the other one is 20 minus 10 Okay. Minus 10 divided by minus 692 minus 2312. So this is 10. Someone do the calculation for me. First calculate this one. Now we will do it like this. We take 20 minus 10 is 10 into 2312, right? This is minus, this is 224 910 30 3004. Okay. Minus minus getting cut off, right? So IRR is equal to this one plus 10. So someone calculate this 10 into 2312 divided by 3004. It should be very easy now. Why don't you calculate fast? It's about 20,000 divided by 3, about 16 something. 16. Can you see the screen? Are you calculating? Okay, until you give me the figure, we'll go ahead. So only way to find IRR is trial and error, like this, because we don't know where is IRR. So we knew at 10% it was positive 2312 or something, yeah, 2312, and so it should be more than 10. So I took 20%, and then we got negative net present value. So IRR is between 10% and 20%, right?
17.69.
How much?
17.69.
17.69, right? So it is 17.69. Now you know how to calculate IRR. So when NPV is positive at some discount rate, IRR is more than that. Okay. If NPV is negative at a discount rate, IRR is less than that discount rate. Okay. So that's how you have to remember. And since now you can do this on Excel spreadsheets, but you don't know how it is coming, right? You put the figures and get IRR, but from this you will know how to calculate IRR by yourself. Okay. Then the net present value profile. So it is a graphical presentation of the relationship between investment net present value. But what I have drawn here, like this, what I have drawn is a net present value profile. So we know for each discount rate what is the net present value, and always it is leading, most of the time leading to same result as the NPV. Right? And now these cash flows, the initial investment is negative, after that positive cash flows. But you can have two NPVs. This graph can go like this, and like so. Then we have two values. When the cash flows are different, like we have negative, positive, negative like that, then you get several NPV results. Okay, so may lead to incorrect decisions in comparison of. Also, when we are comparing mutually exclusive investments, this will cannot be used. This is net present value profile. Okay. So you can see when 0, like I draw here, it's plus 33 or something, and then it's coming down. IRR is at 0, and then tapering off below 0. Problem 6. Time is up 1 minute. So you do this problem. Project has total upfront cost of. This is calculation of IRR. Right? Now you see how we calculated IRR. Right? So calculate IRR by yourself and share with me on Thursday. Yeah, can't cover everything today, then you will be late for you. So you calculate the IRR, and we'll finish this subject. Investment criteria, net present value investment criteria on 1st of April, and I have shared with you. I think Menaka has shared with you ratio analysis, and ratio analysis. I think even Ishani last Tuesday mentioned about ratio analysis. But ratio analysis also, when you have accounting information only, you can do ratio analysis, right? And for projects, if it is existing operation, it's easy to do ratio analysis. But in projects, you are doing it on the projected balance sheet and projected income statement. Okay. So, any questions?